Greetings, Internet, and welcome back to another episode of Putting Shells on Shelves. Yes, indeedy, we're back at it again, and before we even start the video, I just want to say that I am sorry that there hasn't been a new video of this particular series for a while. Just, I don't know, things just haven't had time, things got away from me, but finally, today, I'm back at it, and we're going to be bringing you more of this kind of content. I don't know why that came out weird like it did, but it did. But we're going to be bringing back this particular little show, even though it never really went anywhere. And, yeah. So for today's episode, if you didn't notice by the title down below, these ones are the 1991 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Sports Turtles. Also, before I even get any farther than that, I'm trying out a little something different with the camera. The lighting still sucks. I know I still haven't been able to get that ceiling fan fixed ever since the random incident where the light just blew and the dang thing hasn't worked since. The fan still works, the light is dead as a dodo. Weirdly enough, that happened while I was talking about another certain little video series that's going to be making a comeback eventually. You know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, well, you will. You will. So, now then, back to the topic of today. The 1991 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, these guys, playing sports. So for this particular wave of figures, they had 6 different figures during the original run, and there were variants. So, yeah, enough, lollygagging and dawdling. Let's just jump in. All right, just grabbing a figure at random from the assortment on the table in front of me. I don't know why I'm doing this accent, but I am, and I will quit it now. We'll go with, whoops-a-daisy, Slapshot Leonardo, who cannot keep his helmet on his head to save his life. There we go. We got Slapshot Leo. Now, if it isn't obvious, this is Leo playing hockey, of all things. Now, this particular figure, it is very hard to find him complete with all his accessories because, well, obviously the helmet doesn't like to stay on his head. Plus, he came with not just a hockey stick, which is removable, but I'm not going to. He also came with a bunch of itty-bitty, teeny-tiny little hockey pucks. Currently, mine is missing one of the 3 that he originally came with, but that's to be expected. Like I was just saying, these toys are meant for children, and they have parts that just fall off at random like that. Excuse me one moment while I retrieve that. And because of such, finding these things, apparently they're, got cobwebs and stuff on his helmet. Fell back in a spot I haven't cleaned in a while. Anyway, these things are hard to find complete because they came with so many itty-bitty little dinky accessories. And one of the reasons why it's so easy to lose the little hockey pucks is because Leonardo here has an action feature that allows him to actually hit the hockey pucks. So you would take him and twist his top like this until he clicks in this unnatural, like his top half is facing the wrong way pose. And then you would take the little hockey puck and place it in a spot where he would hit it. And of course, with the press of this little button sticking out of his side, he swings around and he would send that hockey puck flying into infinity. Now, when it comes to these particular sports turtles, I'm going to say that Leonardo here... Excuse me. Where? I know it fell off. Ah, there it is. It was like exactly behind me where I couldn't reach it normally. Anyway, yeah, he's one of my favorites of the set because, well, he just is. He's got very good detailing on his hockey gloves, his elbow and knee pads. They actually saw fit to give him ice skates that were attached to him and not like an accessory, which I am so grateful for, because those things, seeing how small they are on his feet, would be impossible to find. More impossible than to find these hockey pucks. So, yeah. Let's see, what else can I talk about with him? Yeah, the paint detailing is pretty good. Like, they accurately painted up his hockey gloves, like I was starting to talk about. They gave him his own sports number and put his name on the back of his jersey. Are they called jerseys in hockey? I'm not up to date on my hockey terminology, so you'll have to let me know. If you know. And he's got his shin guards, and I just realized that apparently Donatello hooked him up. He has jet-propelled ice skates. See the little exhaust things coming off the back, if I can angle him right? They didn't paint them very well. Like, you can just see that silver piping right there on the side of his foot. But yeah, that's Slapshot Leonardo, ready and raring to go on your shelf for the hockey season. Now then, moving on to the next figure on the table, we'll jump over to, I believe this guy's called Shell Kicking Raph, or Shell Kicker Raph. So as you can see, Raphael here is all geared up and ready to go play some soccer, as we call it here in the States, but as the rest of the world calls it, football. He is actually, I have to say of my set, I think he's one of the better conditioned ones. Conditioned figures, that is. He's just got a little paint wear on his shoes. Now this figure doesn't stand on his own very well easily because of his action feature. His one leg, you would set up one of the soccer and or footballs, depending on where you're from, in front of his foot, and you also have this little net that you're supposed to kick the balls into. I guess you could also call it a goal, because, you know, it's literally a soccer goal, football goal. But anyway, you would set him up with this like on the other side in front of him, and then you would set him up with one of his footballs or soccer balls. This one's shaped like a foot soldier that's been all squished up into the spherical shape. And then this one is literally just a soccer ball, football. And as I was saying, you would take that and you would put it in front of his foot. Now, I forget which one's which because I've had him in this position for so long, but you may have noticed he has this little button sticking out of his back that's kind of camouflaged in with the stripes on his shirt, the little round nub right there. You would set him up with the ball in front of his foot and push the button. I hope this is the right leg. If it isn't, I'm going to look silly. And ta-da! He kicks the ball. I'm honestly surprised I got that right on the first try. Also, this is another figure where it's a bit difficult to find them complete because, well, of all the little bitty pieces that come with them. On that note, I'm going to be brutally open with you all and let you know that I don't know where that thing went. I'm going to have to go track that down after the video's over. And now I remember the reason why I hadn't had him kick anything in such a long time. Oh wait, never mind, there we go. He is standing somewhat proper-like. Okay. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot to talk about with this figure. He's, you know, Raphael wearing, insert your region's definition, soccer and or football attire. He's got his name on the back right there, and I believe there are two different versions of this one. One being the way that mine is, where they actually painted on the lettering, and one where they applied a sticker to it. Kind of like with the Olympic turtles. I don't know, I'm pretty sure I haven't talked about them yet because they're later on in the series. But we'll see when we see. Okay, so anyway, another thing that I like is I actually made it look like he's been running around on the field, you know, actually got his shoes, his cleats kind of dirty. And I also like the fact that they didn't give him, like, actual cleats, because that would be murder trying to get this guy to stand up on his own. More so than it is currently. And the paint detailing is actually very nice on this figure. Aside from the action feature, he doesn't really sport that much articulation. He has little at the head. You know, you can turn it all the way around, but I'm not going to. His arms are articulated at the shoulders, but I don't believe they're articulated anywhere else beyond that. Like, no, his hands are not articulated. This leg is articulated, but only at the hip, and the other one obviously is articulated, but only works when you're using the feature. Let me see if I can get him to stand up. Oh, okay, there we go. You can't see it on camera because of the way I have my setup set up, but he is standing all by his lonesome. Okay, so that's been Shell, Kick, and Raph. Oh, that's something else I forgot to mention, is that for some reason they saw fit to give a couple of turtles clones of themselves playing opposite sports for this particular line. Because, as you'll see, there are 2 different Leonardos, 2 different Raphaels, and only 1 Donatello and 1 Michelangelo, although they give Michelangelo a variant, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So you've seen Slapshot Leo and Shell Kickin' Raph. So next we're gonna go with No, we're not gonna do that one yet. We're gonna go with Shell Slammin' Mike, I think. And when I say I mean I think that's his name. So obviously, this Michelangelo is supposed to be a professional wrestler. So this particular figure, he came with, I believe it was only 3 different accessories. Mine is currently missing one of them. He came with a cape, which he is currently wearing. He came with this little snake wrestling buddy that you can put around the back of his neck like this. And the third piece that he was supposed to come with, that mine is currently without, was an actual wrestling belt. You know, like any of you who actually watch wrestling or know of some of the stuff in it, they always have like the heavyweight champion belt and all that kind of bullhonkery. Mine is missing that, very obviously. Now, whoops-a-daisy. One thing I really like about these figures, or this particular figure, is just how goofy he looks. Like, he's got the interesting bandana where instead of just being the normal bandana, he's got stars in front of his eyes. He's got this like bright friggin' neon pink unitard going on, and of course the cape, which is just cool in and of itself. He's got like the little gold chains going on, kind of like Rappin' Mike, which is a figure I haven't spoken of yet. And just, you know, overall, that guy screams 90s wrestling. He's even got the little high-top shoes going on. That's just a cool-looking toy. And as I was alluding to previously, this guy came with a variant, but we'll talk about that here in a moment. He has articulation at the head, you know, 360-degree rotation. He has articulation at the shoulders and the elbows. And neither of the wrists are articulated, but that's fine. And he doesn't really have much articulation in the legs, because he's basically just got a kick-out feature. Like, if you've watched wrestling and you see one guy get pinned by another guy, and the referee starts going, 1, 2, 3, and before they can get to the count of 3 or the count of 4 or whatever, the guy kicks out like...
Bagwell causes separation, but he got nailed again with another clothesline, and this time it's not over. The kid kicks out again at 2, and Page a little frustrated here.
He has that action, and that's it, really, in terms of action features. Sorry, I had a wild hair up my nose for a second there. But anyway, and... I forgot about this. On his little wrestling companion buddy, he's got like this scarf kind of thing going on, and it's got the same letters that he has on his unitard. What was it? The Mutant Wrestling something. I forget what the T stands for. Or is that supposed to be an F? Oh, it's supposed to be an F. Wait, why is it different? The snake has TWF, but Mikey's unitard has MTW. Oh, Mikey the wrestler. I am... Sorry everyone, it's been a long day. But anyway, as I was starting to say, and I keep stopping myself to bring up other silly stuff, Mikey here came with a variant. They didn't just make him in this pink unitard variation, they also gave him an orange one. Because reasons? There's a couple other subtle little variants, you know, a couple other subtle differences, but beyond that, it's literally the same figure. He came with the same cape, he came with the same snake, he came with the same wrestling belt, just they painted his body orange instead of pink, because I don't know. And of course, he has the same action feature as his twin. Just gonna move his arms and see if I can't get it to work. Nope, his legs are stuck. Then again, this one apparently saw a lot of playtime. I don't think I cleaned him thoroughly when I got him, and because he's got a spring-loaded mechanism, I couldn't really go all out in detailing him and getting all the dirt and gunk out of all his nooks and crannies without risking causing rust to the belt and the springs and stuff inside of him. Give me one moment, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently it's a little dusty in the air in here and I'm starting to get something in my throat. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I think I got it. But anyway, there's Wrestling Mike, Shell Slamming Mike. Apparently that thing is still in my throat, and that's going to drive me nuts. Him and his variant. I know usually with my older videos, my other videos in this line, I would save that for like later in the video, but it's just belaboring the point. It's the same action figure with a different coat of paint, blah, blah, blah. I know a lot of you probably don't care about that, so if you do care about that and you actually want me to talk about the variances and stuff, the differences about these figures in more detail, make a comment down in the comment section down below. Otherwise, let's just keep on rolling. Okay, so the other original figure in this line, and by original I mean, you know, new sport, not the same figure playing a different sport, we have Slam Dunkin Donatello. Now, unfortunately, my original Slam Dunkin Don here is missing all of his accessories, but his action feature still works like a charm. Obviously, you would put the basketball on this peg on his hand here, you'd raise his hands up like this, and then you'd let go, and swing, he would shoot the basket. Now, because that basketball was so small and so easily lost, when they re-released this guy, they actually did something very smart, and they gave him the basketball tethered to his arm. See how it's actually like tied on there? And you could have Michelangelo swing into action and like kick the foot like this. But I think that was a really smart idea they had. So now, when you take the basketball and put it on that spike in his hand, and you make him shoot, as you just saw, the ball does not just go bouncing off into infinity. It actually gets caught by the string, and you can just grab it and put it back on again. Now, I actually have a little bit of a story with this figure. My brother had a big collection, well, in my honest opinion, when I was little, he had a fairly sizable collection of Ninja Turtles action figures, along with like He-Man and Thundercats and a bunch of other silly toy lines from the 80s and 90s. And one of the figures he had was actually this Slam slam dunking Donatello. Now, it wasn't this one specifically. He had a slam dunking Donatello, is what I'm alluding to here. Only his was the original version. No tether to keep that ball from going anywhere. And well, my mother was playing with me in the kitchen, and I was like, "Hey Mom, what's this?" And she was like, "Oh, that's one of your brother's toys. Here, come with me to the kitchen. Let me show you something." So she took me into the kitchen, and I believe what we did was we either took one of those big rectangular promotional magnets you get in the mail, and we hooked the basket here onto it, or she taped it onto the fridge. I forget which. Regardless, she put the ball on I am just flustered right now. She put the ball on Donatello's hand, and she set him up on the floor. We were facing the refrigerator. I was between her legs. She was sitting not spread eagle, with her legs splayed. Me sitting between her legs, and she was, reaching over me using my hand to pull back Donnie's arm. And she's like, "Okay, ready?" I was like, yeah. And then she would pull the hand back, and he tossed the ball. And she did this one time. Only one time. And I will tell you, I got to watch that ball bounce up. And then as it bounced, as y'all know when it comes to inertia and all things, every time it hit the floor, it bounced lower. And then it bounced right up underneath the refrigerator, and we never saw it again. Or at least I never saw it again. Yep. I don't know. Well, I'm sure my brother found out eventually, but I don't know if he found out about that while I was still a kid. Otherwise, I would have probably gotten creamed. Regardless, that's my story, my childhood memory of playing with Slam Dunkin Donatello with my mother. Anyways, so this figure is another cool one. He's actually supposed to be based off of Michael Jordan at the time, because Michael Jordan was a basketball player for the team, the Chicago Bulls, and he was everywhere. Case in point, Space Jam. That was one of the things that launched him into being a big star when it came to little kids, in my opinion. Then again, there were also all those weird kids who were into sports. I was not one of those kids, except for Hulk Hogan in wrestling and Michael Jordan in basketball. Those were the only two sports I cared about, and that was only because Michael Jordan and Hulk Hogan, respectively. And also because my brother was into those sports and things at the same time. So my brother, who at the time I looked up to a lot, his things that he liked were things that I liked. The whole younger sibling copying the older sibling, because that's really cool. And also, if I haven't mentioned this before, I believe I have multiple times, but I'm going to mention it again. Part of the reason why I collect what I collect is because of my brother. Because my brother had a 2XL just like this over here when I was a kid, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I think my sister and I played with that thing more than he did, and so I had to get myself a 2XL. My brother had a bunch of Masters of the Universe, He-Man action figures, and thus I really liked the Masters of the Universe. As a matter of fact, Mosquitor was one of my favorite characters. He was this mosquito thing with a pointed nose, and there was a button on his back that when you'd push it, blood would pump through a clear panel on his chest. I don't have one of those, and I haven't been able to get one, even back when I actually collected Masters of the Universe. But regardless, I'm getting off topic. It was thanks to him and the things that he had while I was growing up that shaped me into the collector I am today, where it's just I remember that. My brother had one of those, or such things. And I will be honest with you, I've been kind of trying to one-up him all this time in terms of my collections. He only had a few pieces from each of these different sets. I set out to try and complete all these sets. just so I could say I had them, and so that, like, if my brother ever sees these kinds of videos, I can go, hey bro, look what I got, remember these? And then be able to just, like, turn to the wall of shelves, off camera, mind you, that are just packed with these silly pieces of plastic that bring me such joy. Anyway, I got way off topic there. But now you know why I started collecting action figures and stuff, was because these are things that I saw that when I was a kid my brother had, and I thought they were really cool, and I was like, I want to get me some of that. And you'll have to pardon my voice that whatever it was that was in my throat is still there and is slowly messing up my vocal cords. Anyway, yeah. So as I was starting to say before I got off on that tangent about my brother and his stuff, he's supposed to be based off of Michael Jordan from the time, and Michael Jordan was like the most popular basketball player at that time, to my knowledge. And of course, Michael was number 23 on the Chicago Bulls team. And of course, because of that, we've got Donatello wearing the lucky 23. Anyways, so when it comes to the Slam Dunkin Donatello, there are actually two different versions of him. There is this one, obviously. Well, technically there's three. There's this one, who was one of the original releases of the figure. There is this one with the basketball on a tether, which I believe this guy was from the 1998 re-releases. I could be wrong on that, but it is what it is. And then there was a white jersey version of this guy, which I will throw up a picture on the screen right now. And I still have yet to track one of those down because they were a Walmart exclusive, supposedly. I believe that's been debunked by a couple people in the Ninja Turtles Facebook forums that I'm in, but the rumor for the longest time was that he was a Walmart exclusive. And just because of that exclusivity, he was not released in very great numbers, and that just makes it really hard to get one for cheap. I believe I actually had an opportunity once, years ago, on on shopgoodwill.com, to get my hands on one. He was mixed in with a random lot of action figures from various toy lines, and he was just like the odd one out, sitting there right in the middle of everything. But I lost the bidding war, and he went to someone else, and I'm still irritated about that, but it's neither here nor there. I still need to get my hands on one. And there was also in this case, a fourth version, which they basically just took this figure and blew him up to giant turtle size. So just imagine, if you will, this figure only this big. And I believe he also had the same spring-loaded mechanism for tossing his basketball. I could be wrong on that, and I probably am, because I've yet to actually hold one or own one or anything like that. I've only seen videos and pictures of the silly things, because those are another one. Just because the giant figures were, more expensive than the small ones, they are harder to get now because not as many were sold back in the day. Alright, yeah, okay, so we've talked about Slam Dunkin Don and his variants. We've talked about Shell Kickin' Raph, Slapshot Leonardo, Shell Slammin' Mikey and his variant. So we'll move back over to Raphael again. Here we have Grand Slammin' Raphael. And as you can see, he is, in this case, a baseball player. Personally, I think they should have made Donatello basketball and baseball player, or a basketball and baseball player, because it makes sense, since Michael Jordan actually at one point in time wound up playing baseball for a short bit, as referenced in Space Jam, because I believe at the end of the movie when they bring him back, they actually take him to a baseball field instead of a basketball court. or at least he gets an escort there via the giant weird spaceship thing that the aliens originally landed in. But anyway, so that's my thoughts on the matter. They should have had Donatello as baseball and basketball, but then thinking on it now, what would Raph be doing? Oh wait, he'd be playing football, aka soccer. Anyway, sorry, I'm being a little snarky today. And one thing you may have noticed with each of these figures is that every single figure in this line came with an action feature. Now with Raphael, like I said, he's dressed up as a baseball player. He's even got the hat, he's got the one baseball glove, he's got the cleats going on, and for whatever reason, the traditional, like, really tall baseball socks. And with Raph, he came with 3 accessories. I want to say it's 3. There might have been another one. Oh, I forgot to talk about that when it came to Donatello. He only came with 2 accessories. He came with the basketball, and he came up with a hoop for it. And technically, if you want to get really, really specific, he also had a 4th accessory, which was a piece of, or an image on the back of the card back. Here, hold on just a second. I've got one over here. I'll show you in a minute. Give me just a moment, folks. As you can see in my hand, I have a bit of a collection of card backs from the different figures and different eras. Alright, 88 Leo, 88 Splinter, 88 Mikey. Here we go. Slam Dunkin Donatello. Okay, so like I was saying, he technically had more, or one more accessory, which was this image on the back of the figure's card that he came on. And this one, obviously, it's Splinter as a referee, or a coach, whatever you want to call it, and we have Bebop as the opposing team character, and obviously you've got Donatello here who would be trying to score on that. But anyway, that's the technical 4th. 3rd or 4th. I am all over the place right now. His technical 3rd accessory. Yeah, see, I threw up 4 fingers. It's 3 accessories. You'll have to pardon me, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what is wrong with me today. I'm trying my best, but I don't know if my best is good enough. Now, just let me get all these card backs put back in the order I had them, and then we will carry on with the show. Alright, Leatherhead, Bebop, April, Mikey, Splinter, Leo. Just put these over here. Okay. Now then, jumping back over to Grand Slam and Raphael, and the itch on my nose. Grand Slam and Raph came with 3 accessories, which were his baseball bat, his catcher's mitt, and this does actually fit on his hand. Not that I'm going to demonstrate that right now, because it was hard enough getting him to hold on to his baseball bat when I put him up on the shelf to display. He also came with a baseball tee. And if you didn't guess already, the main thing with this is that you're supposed to take Raphael here, whose gimmick is that his gimmick is very similar to Slapshot Leo here, in that you wind him up. I think I'm turning him the right way. Wind him up like this. And it's hard to do this one without having him smack my thumb, just because I have such big thumbs. But you'd stand him up in front of the baseball tee, like this, and hopefully he's not going to break it off. You push the button, and he would hit the tee. Now, unfortunately, the tee for my Raphael is actually broken. Currently I have it super glued together, but it's probably going to be pretty hard to see, but right there, let me turn this just the right way. You'd probably see it better on this side. See that itty bitty little line that's like discolored and there's super glue residue around it? That was because when I got this thing, it was apparently only just hanging on, and then when I bagged him up in a little Ziploc baggie for when I was storing him, it broke off. So I had to glue that back together, but it's now back in one piece. It may not look very pretty, but it serves its purpose. Anyway, yeah, Raphael has articulation at the neck, like this. He also has articulation at the shoulders and at the elbows, which I can't really demonstrate while he's holding his baseball bat, but you can see where they have the cuts for the articulation. If I didn't already say it, he has articulation at the hips. Don't want to mess around with that too much because it was hard to get him to stand up in the first place. And obviously, he actually has a little articulation at the waist because of his action feature. Personally, I really like the sculpt and the look of this figure. He kind of reminds me of Babe Ruth, just because he's a little, pudgy thanks to his shell, and just the old-timey gray and blue stripes that he's got going on. I just think he's got a cool overall look and aesthetic to him, and I am proud to have him in my collection. To my knowledge, there isn't a variant of him, unless somewhere out there happens to be one where they decided to put a sticker on him for his name tag on the back. Beyond that, I just don't know. Okay, so we'll move on to the next figure in line, which is also the last one that they made for this set, and the last one that I have in my personal collection. And that little sucker would just so happen to be touchdown tossing Leonardo. Ta-da! Now this is another figure where it's interesting and cool, but it's also kind of weird, because you've got like the rest of the world's interpretation of football, then you have American football. One of the things that I really like about this figure is just how torn up and ratty his outfit looks. It reminds me a lot of Mutant League Football. If any of you have ever seen the cartoon, which I doubt you have, it was not on TV very long. I happened to be one of the few apparently lucky children who actually got to see at least one episode. I think it might have been the first one. I don't remember much about it. I just remember the football team being on the field, and like the fans are like cheering them on, and then the camera focuses in on like these two kids up in the audience. Then something goes haywire, like I believe the field starts getting all torn up, and then somehow all the football players on both teams got all mutated and stuff. And the favorite team, or the favorite player for one of the teams, the good guys, I guess, got turned into like this zombie thing, and it was very, very weird. I might be misremembering that, but if any of you out there know what I'm talking about, please let me know in the comment section down below. But anyway, just how torn up and ratty his outfit looks. Like all the rest of these guys, their outfits actually look somewhat decent. Raphael over here, he's got like a couple of rips on his shirt sleeves, and I think no, those are too uniform to be tears. I was going to say, and it looks like he's got some tears on the shorts, but apparently not. But Leonardo here, his equipment has seen some rough use. Like he's got rips there, he's got like the entire, whatever you call it, jersey. It's like just shredded into being like a belly shirt. And he also has a removable helmet, which I think is kind of nice. But it's a bit of a pain at this point in time to get it onto his head, just because the plastics shrank a little bit, I guess. On the bright side, though, unlike some other Leonardo figures in this sports wave, his helmet doesn't drop off so easily. I was about to say, if that was his helmet. Anyway, when it comes to the Leonardo, I had his name just a second ago. Come on, brain, come on. Touchdown Tossing Leonardo, or its abbreviation TD Tossing Leo. He came with, I believe he only had 3 accessories. I think there might have been one more, but he came with this Nerf football looking football. It's got like these spikes on the back of it, like the turtle blimp. Then he also came with a more regular looking football, and he came with this little itty bitty green pizza slice, which is supposed to be like the football tee. I think that's what they call it. But essentially you'd set the football up on it like this, and then the character would come up and just whack, kick it for a field goal, or just to get it to another one of their teammates. I don't know how football works. Never have cared, probably never will. But the gimmick with the Leonardo here is he has a spring-loaded right arm. So you would wind him up like this, and I'm not going to demonstrate right this second, at least not with the football on his hand, because I don't want to have to go tracking that down along with Raphael's soccer ball, football, whatever. But you would take the soccer ball, see, now I'm getting myself mixed up. You would take the ball, put it on this peg on his hand, and then you would wind him up, and fling, you'd send that thing flying across the room. And that's another part of the reason why this is another figure that's really hard to find complete, because of all the silly little pieces and the fact that he was designed and built to throw them away. Alright, so I believe that is actually everything. Let me just double check myself here. We talked about Slapshot Leo and his very loose-fitting helmet. Oh, crap. Did you guys see where that went? I'm sure you didn't, because it was off camera. But that stupid helmet flew straight down when I dropped it, smacked into one of the stupid little hockey pucks, and the dang thing went whee and flew somewhere. That is another reason why it's really hard to find these things complete, because their accessories are so small and easily lost. I don't often curse, but fuck. Okay, I'll find that again around here somewhere. And I will have proof of it. I'm going to add at the end of this video myself holding both hockey pucks up again. But anyway, we've already talked about Slapshot Leo and his inability to keep his helmet on his head. We talked about football/soccer Raphael's grand shell kicking Raphael. We talked about shell slamming Michelangelo and shell slamming Michelangelo and their snake friends. We talked about Slam Dunkin Donatello and his friend. We talked about Grand Slammin' Raphael. And then we talked about Touchdown Tossing Leonardo. Yep, we talked about all of them. And also we talked about the extra variants of Slam Dunkin Donatello. Okay, yeah. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pause here. I'm going to track down the accessories that I've lost over the course of the video, and then I'll cut right back in and we'll finish this thing up. Okay? Here I go. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so for y'all, this is cutting back immediately. For me, right here, IRL, in this portion of the video, I've been looking for the companion to that little hockey puck accessory for the last hour and a half. Found the soccer ball like no problem immediately. So, my mind being the way it is, in the past I've had similar silly things happen, and the thing that I wound up losing wound up appearing in like the most random spot. Case in point, I had a Nerf gun when I was living with my parents, and one day I was just playing around with it, and I popped it off towards the closet, and I checked all the obvious spots I thought it could be, didn't find it, wound up forgetting about the silly thing. Fast forward a few months, and I was looking for something in the closet, so I was moving boxes around, and underneath a box was that dart, like just wedged under the corner of the box, just squished and crushed under there. So, with my mind being that way, I thought perhaps, because there is the smallest of gaps right there behind these shelves, that, well, maybe it, bounced off the wall and went like, pew, ricocheted back behind the silly thing. And as you can see, these shelves are positively filled with action figures. And, well, this idiot, oh, hold on, gotta wait for the focus to come back. Come on, there we go. Had decided that I was going to take it upon myself to move all, see my hand over here? I was going to decided to move all 3 of these sets of shelves with all the stuff still on it. That's the reason why, like you see down there and over here, there's a bunch of figures that are just knocked over and laying face down, when originally they were all fairly nicely, neatly stacked up, looking good. So I went ahead and I grabbed each set of shelves and I gingerly pulled, dragged, and kind of like walked them forward. Nothing behind or under this one. Nothing behind or under this one. And the same goes for that one. Although, when I was moving that last one, I did find myself an arachnid. Don't know how well y'all will be able to see that. Let me just do a little something here. Try and make it a little more obvious. Hopefully y'all can see that. Try and... Yes. Yeah, you can kind of see it right there. Don't mind that beetle, it was in the jar already. So, ooh, wow, I'm so red right now. I'm so embarrassed. But anyway. And I think I might have accidentally killed the little thing, because I think it had 8 legs when I started. It was awfully dark in that corner. But when I went to catch it, and finally got it in the jar, of course the little dork moved, because initially I thought I missed it because it was so dark back there. And I left my phone on the other side of the room, so I was like, okay, I'll find it again. I pulled the jar away, went to grab my phone, and I just see motion like zipping across the side of the back of that shelf, and I'm like, nope. Got the jar back on it again. I was still trying to reach for my phone at the same time, and then the jar came off again, and it went whoop. It started darting towards the bottom of the shelf, and I slapped the jar back on it and pulled up, and then when I was able to gingerly get the jar to the side and slide the lid back on and get it tightened, and I actually got a look. The spider had 6 legs and it appeared to be wet on the one side, so I'm guessing I sheared off a couple of its legs and it subsequently bled to death. I could be wrong. I'm kind of hoping I'm not, but just in case I am wrong, I'm keeping it in that jar. Anyway, So where did I leave off? Yes. So aside from that arachnid and another dead one that was on the floor over on this side next to my recording setup, about the same size, but we're not worried about that. I couldn't find anything aside from dust bunnies and cobwebs. Then I was like, well, actually no, before I moved the shelves I was like, perhaps when it ricocheted it might have wound up on one of these shelves down here, because I didn't think, it would have ricocheted that high up. So that's the other part of the reason why these shelves are in such a state of disarray. It's because I took off all the figures and was looking behind everything, shifting everything around, and obviously I didn't find it. So then, after that, and then after moving all the shelves and getting all the shelves put back, I decided to check the shelves, the individual shelves, one last time. Now, I want you to take a look at this shelf. Oh, hold on, look a little farther down there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, there's my hand. Okay, take a look at this shelf. This unassuming plyboard structure. Let me just adjust the camera again. And let me know if you notice anything other than a couple of figures laying down on the job. Any idea? Any guesses? Because when I initially had this nonsense happen, the table I have set up is over here, and the shelves are over here. I'm gonna say it's a good 3.5, 4 feet away. So I figured that if anything, that little hockey puck would have landed on, say, this shelf here, or this shelf down here. Like the trajectory, it would have gone like, pew, bounced around in here, or down there. Nope. Obviously, what I'm alluding to, and dragging my feet in showing, is that somehow that hockey puck leapt up about, I want to say, 2.5 feet in the air, and bounced all the way from that table there, and clattered all the way across the shelves, and came to rest. Hopefully y'all can see it. If not, I'll point it out. Came to rest all the way over there. Right over there by Rat King. Now, another thing I should state for the record is that I had other places that I thought that rebellious little piece of plastic could have bounced. So I was moving boxes and all kinds of junk that I've had just laying around waiting for reviews and waiting for videos that are upcoming. And I actually did a pretty good job in cleaning up this entire office while looking for, I forgot to grab it, just one moment folks, but looking all over for that silly piece of plastic. And that, my dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna give me another couple of minutes. I'm gonna reset up and we'll continue this in a minute. Alright, we're back again, and just as I was starting to say, that, my dear viewers, is another reason why it's so hard to find these vintage Ninja Turtle figures complete, because they just have so many ridiculous, silly little accessories that fall off really easily or ricochet off into the aether and just freaking vanish. Seriously. That should not have happened the way it did. And you saw, a grown adult collector of these pieces of plastic, lost a little itty bitty chunk of plastic for an hour and a half, and then had to tear apart my whole office to find the silly thing again. So, ladies and gents, and fellow Ninja Turtle and other action figure collectors, if you happen to find these toys with all of their accessories, count your lucky stars that something like that didn't happen ages ago, and it wound up getting lost in the carpet somewhere and getting vacuumed up and thrown away with the trash. This has been your PSA from Oxleymations. Always remember, keep an eye on your accessories and keep track of where they go when you lose them, so you don't lose them. There's a moral in there somewhere. The moral is, don't screw up. And be careful when you're mucking around with your collectibles, because you never know when you're going to have an accident like that and frustrate yourself trying to right the wrong. Anyway, this has been your old buddy Oxleymations saying, if you like what you've seen here today, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that little bell icon to be notified of future uploads once you are subscribed. You'll be glad you did. Feel free to share my videos with your friends. If you think they'll like them, heck, share them even if you're not sure if they'll like them. You could be surprised. Like I was when I found that spider that I potentially killed. Anyway, this is Oxleymations saying, Cowabunga, and I will see y'all in the next one. Also, I appreciate each and every single one of you. If you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and in the comments put down the word spider. That'll be the word for the day. Put down the word spider in the comments section down below. Anyways, Cowabunga, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Later.